NASCAR hammers Chase Briscoe and Joe Gibbs Racing for modifying a single source supplied part. Are we going to see Buc-ee's get into NASCAR sponsorship? Juice on Hamilton admits that the duel on Thursday should have gone green to the end. And Parker Kligerman, yeah, we know the results of his appeal. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Cars rolling into Atlanta. Truck Series and Xfinity Series have qualifying on Friday. Couple be on Saturday. Doubleheader, truck race, and an Xfinity race as well. But before we get to Atlanta, we have to talk about what happened in Daytona. Also, it snowed in North Carolina, and every team posted pictures of it snowing. I always enjoy when it snows in North Carolina because they all freak out and they act like it's this big thing. I'm pissed. I woke up to another, inch and a half, 2 inches of snow this morning. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I might just move to Florida at this point. But let's talk about what happened at Daytona because NASCAR absolutely hammered Chase Briscoe and his Joe Gibbs Racing number 19 team on Wednesday when they handed down a 100-point fine for driver and for owners, 10 playoff points, a $100,000 fine to Joe Gibbs Racing, and suspended his crew chief James Small for 4 races for modifying a single source supplied part at the Daytona 500. So Chase Briscoe's number 19 car was one of the cars randomly selected after the race to go back to NASCAR R&D, as well as Daniel Suarez and Chase Elliott and one other car. All the other cars cleared the inspection, the teardown at the R&D center. Chase Briscoe's car did not. NASCAR says that the team modified the spoiler base on that number 19 car, and that is a big time no-no. How many times we have to talk about this? Do not modify single source supplied parts unless you're Hendrick Motorsports. Just kidding. People are actually going to freak out about that and be like, Hendrick's always cheating. They're not. If you actually paid attention to that whole louver discussion, they were correct there. And I know people are going to say with the Collin thing, they're actually different. We're not going to get into that right now because it was 2 years ago at this point. But what Joe Gibbs Racing reportedly did to this spoiler base is they elongated the mounting holes to it. So on the bottom of the spoiler base, there are 19 different holes to mount the spoiler to the deck lid, or the base to the deck lid there. NASCAR found these holes to be elongated, and in theory, that could potentially allow that spoiler to, the deflection of that spoiler to lay down a little bit, possibly, maybe. That's all up for discussion. That's all going to be up to the appeals process because Joe Gibbs Racing says that they will appeal because they believe that it is interference between the supplied parts. Now, will they get an approval from that or, win their appeal? More than likely not. But when it comes down to it, those 19 holes, like I said, were found to be elongated. Now, NASCAR, of course, tests these cars pre-race. They even do a deflection test. On the spoiler, they hang a weighted mount, basically, from that spoiler to give it that deflection. And it's allowed to deflect 1.5 degrees. So 1.5 degrees is what the tolerance is for that. So they walk around, hang the weight on the spoiler, and then determine it from there. Passed all of that. Passed it. Did perfectly fine. It was when they took it to the R&D center and did the full teardown and took all the pieces apart that they found these elongated holes. Now, of course, innocent until proven guilty. They get their day in court, the appeals court that is, and we'll see, what is decided in that. But for now, Chase Briscoe is negative 67 points on the season, meaning he is a race and some more before he even gets back up to 0, before he even gets his head back above water. Now, does he need to win a race to, get himself into the playoffs? Not necessarily. I've seen a lot of people have these hot takes and they're being like, the only way that he makes the playoffs now is if he wins. That's not true. He can be wildly consistent, score a lot of stage points, and he's going to be perfectly fine. He'll find his way back into the top 16. The problem is if we start to get a lot of winners, then, that cut line for just, points continues to move up. But of course, the best way for him to make it into the playoffs is to win. And I know a lot of people have high hopes for Chase Briscoe this year. Some of the bold takes in the comments are people saying, hey, Chase Briscoe is going to win 4, 5, even 6 races. I don't see that happening. I think that they win a race this year. I'm just not as sold as some other people are that they're going to win a lot of races. So we'll see how it plays out for Briscoe. But for now, 100-point fine, 10 playoff points, $100,000 fine, and he's going to be without his new crew chief, new to him at least, for 4 weeks. That's not ideal there. We're going to Atlanta, Coda, Phoenix, Las Vegas. So yeah, he's going to be without him for quite some time. Unfortunate for Chase Briscoe. We'll see what happens in the appeals process. Unlimited gas pumps, home decor, beaver pajamas, chairs, fold-up chairs, fire pits, grills, slushy wall, brisket, pulled pork, beef jerky, clean bathrooms, and possibly NASCAR sponsorship. That could be in the future for Buc-ee's, the very popular gas station convenience store that have sprouted up from Texas and have covered the Southeast at this point. They're making their way up north. They're building one in Ohio. There's one in Kentucky. There's ones in Tennessee. They're in Georgia. They're in Florida. They're everywhere at this point, and all of this stems from Arch Beaver Alpin III, the owner of Buc-ee's, being present at the NASCAR Sponsorship Summit on, Saturday night before the Daytona 500. He also attended the Daytona 500 as Buc-ee's continues to explore possibly a form of NASCAR sponsorship. Whether that's with NASCAR, whether that's with the team, remains to be seen, but it makes so much sense for Buc-ee's to be a part of NASCAR. Buc-ee's is NASCAR. The fact that there isn't NASCAR merchandise sold at Buc-ee's seems like a bit of a national crime, if we're being honest. Buc-ee's is, for me, kind of hell on earth. It's a lovely place to go to if there's nobody at it. It's like Costco. You got to go late at night, right before they're about to close, except I don't think Buc-ee's closes. Regardless, if you go late at night, it's much more enjoyable than going during 12:30 on a Monday or a Saturday or any time at that matter. It's not enjoyable, but it is an interesting place. One, if you like people watching. Two, if you like a decent pulled pork sandwich, brisket, even that club milk thing that they have, not too bad. I've never had the beef jerky from there. They've got a soda wall that will just give you diabetes looking at it. They have really clean bathrooms, though. I can't say enough about how clean the Buc-ee's bathrooms are. And as a person that does not like going to the bathroom at a urinal, it's just a privacy thing. Really, when it gets down to it, they have full floor to ceiling dividers in your urinal. You basically step into it. It's lovely. I love it a lot. I'm a person that does not like to go to a urinal. I'll go to a urinal at Buc-ee's every single time. Now, if they get into NASCAR sponsorship, that's huge. If it's with a team, even better, because that team now has all of these convenience stores across NASCAR country that they can sell merchandise at. It's genius, and every single team should be lined up trying to get that Buc-ee sponsorship right now. Now, we don't know how much money Buc-ee's makes a year. It is a privately held company, likely probably in the top 30 privately held companies in the United States. Somewhere, guesstimations on the internet put it at between $2.5 billion, $5 billion in revenue a year, somewhere in that range. Affording a NASCAR sponsorship is very much in their wheelhouse. It will be exciting if it does happen. At-track activations could be very, very fun. It makes sense. It just makes sense if they were to do it. Now, we'll see what happens there. NASCAR also could possibly be looking for a new fuel sponsor for 2026 and beyond. Obviously, Buc-ee's is, a chain. They buy their fuel from somewhere else, but there could definitely be some sort of tie-in there as well for that convenience store chain. But if you haven't been to a Buc-ee's yet, I urge you to go into it with an open mind. Don't let me and my cynicism deflect you from doing that. It is a bit like if Gatlinburg was a gas station. That's what Buc-ee's is. So if you've ever been to Gatlinburg, you understand what I'm saying. If you've never been to Gatlinburg, just imagine if a cruise ship crashed into land and then just blew up everywhere. That's kind of what Gatlinburg is. So you can kind of work your way through that whole process there. But Buc-ee's possibly getting a NASCAR sponsorship, I'm absolutely here for. All right, coming out of Daytona week, one of the big things that NASCAR fans are continuing to harp on is the fact that NASCAR was consistently inconsistent once again, because on Thursday night in the duel, they threw a caution. That race ended under the yellow flag, even though the cars were not that far from the checker flag. And ultimately, Eric Jones, who we thought won because he was the first one to the finish line, didn't win. They went to Austin Cindric at the time that the caution flag came out, and it created a really unnecessary controversy because that race should have just gone green to the end. Then on Sunday night in the Daytona 500, NASCAR allows that race to go green from turn 3 all the way to the start finish line after a big wreck happened down the backstretch and kind of finished off into turn 3 and turn 4 there. And all the fans were really upset about that. Keep in mind, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. If the caution comes out, William Byron still wins that race regardless. But fans are like, why did you do it on Sunday night, but you didn't do it on Thursday night. So on the new NASCAR Hauler Talk podcast, where they said that they would talk about issues and explain why they did certain things during the race weekend, they had Juson Hamilton on. He is the race director for the NASCAR Cup Series, and he had this to say about it. He said, quote, "So hindsight is always 20/20, and that's when you look back, I would say we could do it differently. I would say that we could let them get to the start-finish line, but that's looking back now on a Tuesday, going through all of our reviews and having the luxury of time to review the full situation." Now, I understand what he's saying there. He's saying, yeah, looking at it, armchair quarterback, Monday morning quarterback, we could have just let them finish the race. Easy to say that after the fact is done. In the moment, though, you want to get those safety workers out on track. You want to get to those cars as quickly as possible. And that's sort of what they did on Sunday. The wreck happened. They knew it was the last lap of the race. They knew the leaders were through there. There was nobody else coming through that crash area. They were able to dispatch these safety vehicles as the green flag was still out, as the leaders were racing back to the checker flag. And while people are going to say that's a safety risk, that's a safety hazard, it's not, because it's the end of the race. So everybody that after they pass the start finish line, they're all checking up. They are all going to be well aware that they're driving into a crash area down the backstretch and into turn 3 there. So I think NASCAR sat back and learned from what they did on Thursday, and they're like, okay, we can do this on Sunday if the wrecks aren't that big. Juson, though, on that Hauler Talk says that if a car gets off the ground, if it flips over, they have something like that happening, wheels going down the racetrack, they are going to throw a caution for that, because that is a safety hazard. They need to get safety crews out there as soon as possible. But the type of wreck that we saw Sunday night, they felt confident that they could allow that race to go green to the end while dispatching the safety workers. So it's always going to be a judgment call in these situations, because no wrecks are the same. But in this situation, I think they learned from what happened on Thursday and they applied it to what happened on Sunday. And unfortunately, NASCAR fans in general of any sport, are fickle, and they're like, well, we want this. So the governing body gives them that. And they're like, well, that's not exactly how you did it before. Why would you do this? And it's like, well, because that's what you asked for. Unfortunately, people will just never be that happy. But I think they got it right on Sunday night. They didn't get it right on Thursday, but they came back and admitted, and hey, we're all here for self-reflection and self-growth, and I'm happy that they realize that, it could be done better. I think we're all here for that. And last but not least, Parker Kligerman won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race on Friday night in Daytona. He did the burnout. He celebrated on the front stretch, stood up, jumped into the arms of his guys, went to victory lane, drank the champagne, took the trophy, kept the win flag, and was promptly disqualified. That win handed to Corey Heim, who then is already locked into the playoffs now. Didn't need the help, but he's locked in, and he heads to Atlanta this weekend looking for his second straight victory, because Parker Kligerman's appeal was denied on Thursday afternoon. The Motorsport Appeals Panel found them to still be in violation of the rules. What the rule that they broke was the truck was too low in the rear end at the end of the race. They thought they had enough evidence to get it done, that Henderson Motorsport team, to overturn it. Ultimately, the appeals board did not side with them, saying, quote, "The panel confirms that is more likely than not a rules violation did occur in the disqualification penalties in Rule 10.5.2.4 necessitate a race disqualification." So basically what they're saying there is a lot like the NFL rule. There's not enough evidence to overturn the ruling, and that's sort of what the explanation was here that we got. The evidence presented was not enough to convince them, so they are still standing by the fact that they do believe a violation did happen here. So Parker Kligerman does not get that win back at Daytona. Corey Heim does keep it. He is locked into the playoffs. Parker, just a brutal 6-month run for him. First, you had the Roval in the Xfinity Series. Now you have this. He's going to do more races with Henderson this year, and I just hope that he can maybe win a race, because they absolutely deserve it over at that team. He took them to victory lane before, but they ran a really good race on Friday night, so it kind of sucks seeing them lose it out this way. But hey, getting an appeal overturned and winning is always going to be super tough, but it can happen. It does happen, rarely, super rarely, but every now and then all the planets do align, asteroids do miss Earth, and you will eventually win an appeal. You just try enough times. It's like a Mario level or a Zelda level. 2 video games I've never played, but it just sounded good in the moment when I said it, so we're going to go with it. Either way, let me know in the comments what you think about the Chase Briscoe penalty, Buc-ee's potentially coming to NASCAR as a sponsor, Juson Hamilton's comments, Parker Kligerman disqualified. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.